Hearing is Believing by Caitlyn Martin. By the time I was 3, I couldn't put a book down. I read every Dr. Seuss book. One time, I even made my mom cook green eggs and ham. The Berenstain Bears were my all-time favorite. My Aunt Riri had a huge book of Disney fairy tales that I must have read a million times. We were dressed up like princesses, and we would have tea parties, which consisted of Coke and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Then, my aunt would read to us the stories. At the age of 5, I had my ear ripped off by my dad's truck door. There was blood everywhere. I was screaming at the top of my lungs, but for some odd reason, I couldn't hear anything. I lost my hearing, and I was considered legally deaf. Thank God I knew how to read. My mom and dad would write on little sticky notes and notepads to tell me things. It was terrible. I could no longer hear my daddy's voice or my puppy Sunshine bark. I began writing stories and reading hundreds of books. Reading and writing took me to a different world of no pain and sadness. In my stories, I would imagine different sounds. I would have the prettiest southern voice, and there were always waves crashing in the background as I imagined the beach. The hardest part of not being able to hear was that if someone is not facing you, you don't know if they are or aren't talking. You don't know what they're saying, and you have no idea what kind of tone they are using. It did, however, give me some faith that everything would be okay. For the most part, though, I taught myself how to write, and this only extended to imaginary stories. I learned to write through my readings as well. 4 years later, through extensive surgeries and speech and hearing therapies, I gained full hearing back in my left ear, and only 20% in my right ear. Today, I still am very hard of hearing, and I usually have to face the person to understand what they are saying, to lip read. My traumatic accident taught me a lot of things, though, that I probably never would have learned or even cared enough to pay attention to. One thing I've found to be true is that I pay a lot of attention to details. Details such as sound, imagery, smells, touch, and even facial expressions. It isn't something that the average person notices, and I probably wouldn't have either if it wasn't for my loss of hearing. I became a better reader through the process too, because that's all I ever did. I am sure that I gained my love for reading through not being able to hear it for myself. To this day, I still read a portion of a book a day. It somehow always seems to make the day go better. The most important thing that I have learned through my journey of life without sounds is to always believe.